You're losing money right now and you don't even know it. Not because you're lazy, not because you're not smart, but because almost everyone, business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, even employees, fall into this one silent mistake that drains them day after day. And if you don't fix it, it will keep stealing your money, your time, and your peace. In this video, I'm going to show you the one mistake that keeps people stuck and broke, and the simple shift that you can make to instantly boost your income, your impact, and your results. This works if you run a business. This works if you want a promotion. This works if you're trying to grow in life. It works all around. And if you fix this, everything gets easier. All right, so let's break it down. The first thing is, most people don't lose because of effort. They lose because of focus. People think that success comes from doing more, working more hours, more hustle, more grind, more tasks, more moving pieces. But that's why most people fail. You don't lose because you didn't try. You lose because your energy is divided into 100 different directions that don't matter most of the time. Most people are busy, but not better. They work hard, but not on the one thing that's going to actually move the needle in their favor. And that's why they're burned out. And it's not because they're burned out, but not because they lack strength. They burned out because they lack a strategy that keeps them from getting burned out. The point is this. The mistake is chasing everything instead of mastering one thing. The real mistake is simple. You're doing too much and almost none of it really matters. We live in a world full of noise. Every day you're hit with new ideas and new trends and new tools and new things that you must do. And so you jump from idea to idea like you're playing a mental game of hopscotch. And that's the trap. That's the trap that we don't see. When everything feels important, nothing is. And so you drain your time, you drain your money, and you drain your peace. Not because you don't work hard, but because you don't work with focus. There's an old story of two lumberjacks. You have a young lumberjack who's young, he's strong, he's vibrant, and then you have an older lumberjack who is not as strong, not as vibrant, older, more seasoned. And the young lumberjack wanted to prove that he was the hardest worker in the forest. And so one day he chopped wood from sunrise to sunset. No breaks, no rest, no pause, just chopping away. But as the day went on, he chopped less and less. His arms were hurting, his pace had slowed down, and his pile of wood got smaller and smaller. And then the older lumberjack just watched him struggle, and he said, "The reason why you're struggling so much is because your axe is dull." And the young guy snapped back and said, "I can't stop now because I'm behind. I don't have time to sharpen my axe." And the old man smiled and said, "That's your problem. You're behind because your axe is dull." You see, the young lumberjack was not behind because he lacked effort. He had a whole lot of effort, but he lacked focus. And he lacked the focus enough to know that if you sharpen your axe, you don't have to work as hard. And so the takeaway is this. That's what most people do in life. They're swinging harder. They're working more hours. They're taking on more tasks, more projects. They're saying yes to everything, but their axe is so dull that the effort is barely making a dent. And so they're busy, but they're not better. They're active, but they're not effective. And they're exhausted, and it's not allowing them to advance. And so the lesson is this. Your results don't come from doing more. They come when you focus more. The second thing is this. Money moves towards mastery, not multitasking. Most people think that the secret to success is being able to do it all. They try to be the hero. They try to be the helper. the planner, the builder, the marketer, the manager, everything. But here's the truth. Multitasking does not make you more productive. It just makes you more distracted. And money does not follow your busyness. Money follows your brilliance. You rise in life not because you're good at everything. You rise in life because you become great at one thing. Let's break that down. The point is this. People don't rise because they're busy. They rise because they're brilliant at something. The world does not reward the person who does the most. It rewards the person who does the most that matters. So you doing things that don't matter. And so you got to think about it. The top athletes don't play every sport. The top chefs don't cook every meal. The top leaders don't run every department. Greatness requires that you narrow your focus so that your gift can grow stronger. But see, most people do the opposite. They stretch themselves so thin trying to juggle everything. And in the process, they weaken the very thing that could change their life. I think about Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs, he started Apple, and then years later they ended up firing him, kicking him out, and then he went and built something else. He went and built Pixar and some other things, and then years later they brought him back. And so when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, it was a mess. They had dozens and dozens of products. They had dozens of different projects that they were working on, and everybody was going in so many different directions, and almost none of them were making them money. And so Steve Jobs walked into a meeting and he grabbed a marker and he drew a simple 2x2 grid on a whiteboard. And he said, and he put 4 products in each of those blocks. And he said, these will be the only 4 products that we will create and that we will work on. Everything else gets cut. And when he said that, obviously, everyone panicked. The engineers protested. The managers, they worried. The other leaders, they freaked out. But Jobs stayed calm and he stayed focused. Why? Because he knew that Apple didn't need more products. They needed more focus. And that one decision turned Apple into one of the most profitable, wealthiest companies in history. And so the takeaway is this. You don't win by doing more. You win by doing the right thing with more intention, more clarity, and more consistency. Because mastery makes more money, but multitasking loses it. The moment you cut the clutter, the value goes up and your stress goes down and your results explode. And so here's the third thing I want to tell you. What you ignore is more expensive than what you fix. See, most people think that big failures come from big mistakes, but most failures actually come from small leaks that get ignored. A tiny habit that you overlook, the follow-up that you did not send, the message that you never responded to, the detail that you let slide, the system that you avoid fixing. You see, every small leak creates a large loss, and you don't lose thousands all at once. You lose little drips every day, day after day, without noticing it. Let me show you how. You see, the real cost is not the work, it's the waste. We all have broken windows in our life. These little problems that we ignore because they seem too small to matter. But here's the danger. What you tolerate today becomes what you pay for tomorrow. Small things get expensive fast. A missed call becomes a missed client. A missed habit becomes a missed goal. A missed detail becomes a missed opportunity. See, people think that fixing problems is costly, but ignoring problems is always more expensive. And the reason why I said that most of us have what we call broken windows in our lives is because in psychology, there's this famous study called the broken window theory. And researchers found that when one broken window in a building was left unfixed, then soon more windows became broken, and then trash piled up. And then graffiti showed up. And then crime increased. Why? Because ignoring one small problem sends the message. And the message is nothing here matters. And when nothing matters, everything falls apart. It was not the first broken window that destroyed the building. It was the lack of attention that destroyed the building. And so the takeaway is this. Your life works the same way. Your business works the same way. Your goals work the same way. A tiny leak that you ignore today becomes a flood tomorrow. You see, success is not about fixing everything. It's about fixing the first thing, the one thing that matters, because when you fix the one thing that matters, everything else falls into place. And so if you're tired of losing money and losing momentum and losing time, then start by fixing this one mistake. Stop chasing everything and start mastering one thing, the one thing that moves you forward the fastest. And so if you want more videos like this to help you grow your business and your life and your income, drop a comment below that says focus. Just drop a comment and say focus, because that lets me know that you're locked in. And so let's grow together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.